Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today, we're going to be talking about the debut EP from Lil Nas X called 7. I bet there's some of you who thought this would never be released. And I'll probably include Lil Nas X in that group. See, quite a few things have changed and evolved since I appeared on Dead End Hip Hop a couple of months back in order to try and clear up a couple things about Old Town Road, the country trap song that's ruled the Hot 100 for months now, where I described the Billboard controversy as less of a discussion surrounding race and country, and more one of industry machinations. And turns out, for the most part, I've been proven right, as when the remix with Billy Ray Cyrus was released, Nashville was able to get its payday and let the song lodge itself comfortably on top. And then things started happening that kept proving what I said it was even more right. Lil Nas X conveniently leaks that he was an industry plant signed to Columbia all along, which you might think would be a troll. He trolls all the time, but then A, he would have no reason to say it and it kind of undercuts his entire homegrown narrative to do so. B, how else did he get that Nine Inch Nails sample clear for Old Town Road? C, how the hell did the song wind up on so many prominent playlists for streaming? And D, how else did he get that big budget music video otherwise? I get that it was later, but there had to be plans in the place for that to come out. Now, most meme songs, they don't get that widespread in the mainstream without somebody pushing levers. The controversy between Nashville labels and mainstream labels, that's a convenient bit of backdrop with infighting to juice publicity with Billboard hapless in the middle, and it looked like Lil Nas X, he was just content to ride his one hit as long as he possibly could, ride off into the sunset. But the ugly truth is that if you're an industry plant, even if your song has been on top for week after week, labels got to expect something to keep the cash flow going. Hence this very quickly announced and released EP. All indications that it wasn't going to be that good. Very few people could make the lightning of a song like Old Town Road strike twice, but hey, it'll at least be short, right? Well, here's the thing. Listening to 7, I started seriously questioning whether or not Lil Nas X was actually an industry plant after all. Because normally the underlying upside of that assertion is that there's a baseline of competence and polish. And I guess you can make the assertion with this project, it's not nearly as terrible as a couple folks have made it out to be, mostly driven off of disappointment that the magic of Old Town Road didn't hit again and again. But what it absolutely does reflect is a lack of ideas. And if you're listening to the EP and are thinking, wait a second, it's all over the place. How does that not reflect originality? It's more coming if you know your music history. You will have heard a lot of these sounds before. And if you're not remotely impressed by that, between some of the thematic and tonal incoherence, it's kind of easy to understand why. In fact, you know what? Let's keep this short and skip to the point. Suffocating in a lot of auto-tune in a futile attempt to produce some sort of melodic hook. On most of these songs, Lil Nas X sounds like a Travis Scott wannabe in a bunch of bargain barrel rap rock tracks with zero instrumental texture, to the point where it shouldn't even be surprising that Travis Barker assisted on production on Family, You and Me. Now, if you're coming from Old Town Road, that's probably a really surprising pivot, but it shouldn't be. If Astroworld sold us on anything, it was that there was always a little bit more twang in Travis Scott's sound than he probably got credit, and Lil Nas X trying to find the cross-pollination between the two sides, it's not a bad idea, but we're also not talking about a project with a scope and creativity that Astroworld had. And it becomes rapidly apparent that Lil Nas X would rather shitpost his way through low-effort songs than really give a damn about what he's making, which would be a shocking creative pivot until you realize that Travis Scott is often the least interesting part of his own songs. And from Lil Nas X's point of view, it's probably the easiest to imitate with the least amount of effort. Now, what threw me off initially was the embrace of all the rap rock tones out of the programmed gutlessness of somebody who was cribbing from alternative rock sounds from the late 90s with none of their firepower. But you know what? For someone who built all his virality off of cross-genre pollination, it also makes sense in the crudest way possible. After all, it worked for country as stodgy as it is. Why wouldn't it work for rock or alternative radio? You could probably push a lot of similar buttons. Well, you know what? I also think it deserves to be mentioned that Old Town Road, which for the record actually shows up twice on this EP, opening up with the remix and closing off the inferior original, it was only really treated as more than a meme or a joke song with the remix. Billy Ray Cyrus's luxury rap flexing and Marlboro Man references, it served as the mirror to Lil Nas X's country references. That's the reason why the remix of Old Town Road is actually a pretty good song. But going beyond that one moment, look, Lil Nas X just doesn't have much of anything here. He actively loses personality by mimicking Travis Scott so closely, and on songs where he might have some sort of catchy elements or idea, it rarely comes from an original place. Take the second track, Panini. Not only is it borrowing its titular character from the cartoon Chowder, which I'm not familiar with, but that sung melody, it's an interpolation of Nirvana's In Bloom. And the lyrics aren't that interesting regardless. Or take Rodeo, which in sampling Pump It by the Black Eyed Peas seems to be like an attempt to recreate Mo Bamba, but with the most perfunctory 8-bar Cardi B verse I've heard in a long time. The song seems to be about the tension, the give and take of relationships, and I guess some of the Spanish guitars sample across the distant whistles might get that vibe, but it's weird and honestly it barely works. Beyond that, it's not like the writing of Family, You and Me coherently matches the curdled tension of the rap rock style. And then you got Kick It, which I'll admit at least tries to be kind of interesting with the distant squonks and the bombasted strings. But how does that fit a song where he sullenly offers somebody weed, and then when that person doesn't want it, you get snippy? And there's a similar lightly toxic vibe to bring you down. I thought the hook had some promise, but then you realize the entire song is all about ratting out somebody's secrets, and then pairs it with a shrieking guitar solo that ends with a really ugly, high-pitched outro. Then there's Closure, which has this scratchy, surprisingly fast-paced beat playing off a lot of weak auto-tune crooning about how he wants and he needs closure. Fine enough, but then he's still referencing her on the hook in the present tense, only bringing up more on the post-chorus, which makes me question what stage of the relationship he is even in. But really, the problems with this EP, there are a broad lack of originality in the sounds and a lot of tonal incoherence. In other words, exactly what I might expect from someone where it might not matter whether you believe he's an industry plant or not. He had one golden idea and little else. Beyond that, the other ideas we get are clearly undercooked, but with a label desperate to sustain his relevance however they can, they threw name producers and a fair bit of money and Cardi B at him to make something with mainstream traction. But at the same time, I don't really think it's outright bad. It's derivative, it's incoherent, sure, but there are seeds of ideas and hooks that, with a little bit of development, could have made for good songs. Honestly, they're like most memes. They're built off of old ideas and too disposable to be worth caring about, but occasionally, there might be a little bit more there if they were given a little bit more time and care and not treated as so disposable. So as such, yeah, not a lot to say. It's a light 5 out of 10. Keep the remix of Old Town Road, which is still pretty good. And you know what? Let Lil Nas X ride off into the sunset with his brief moment of success. Let him go to live and troll another day. I think that everybody, especially the industry, will be a lot better off. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Not a lot to say about this one, but hey, I wanted to cover this, get it knocked out of the way. I don't ever expect to see a full album from this kid, especially if this EP's not doing all that well, but you know what happens. You want to buy or stream it, links down there below, and I got the poll up there for how you guys might feel on this, because again, it's gotten some pretty negative reactions. I'm curious where this will ultimately fall. Beyond that, hey, if you're looking to actually get involved with me on social media, links also in description, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know the deal. Also got the hashtag handle in the outro card. And if you're looking for the next episode of Billboard Breakdown coming out tomorrow, it's on the new channel. Make sure it's in the card right over here, links over there. Until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.